Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming in here for one of our NATS workshops for Mid-Atlantic Regionals. My name is Chad Sagan, and the first workshop that we're going to go through is working with an application called Appcompanist. I know just from the people in the room that some folks are familiar with it, some people have never used it, and some people are just scared of it. But all of those perspectives make sense, and I'm going to try to allay any concerns that you have and give you a little bit of a deeper dive into what it can help you with. And ways that you can use it that might be the first things that come to your mind. As we're going through this though, if you're not familiar with Appcompanist, go to Apple's App Store or Google Play and take a moment during this presentation and just download the app, the free version. You don't have to pay for anything because most of the things that we're going to be looking at today are free to use whether or not you choose to subscribe. And as we go through this application, I'll show you some things where we have a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll show you some live performances utilizing the tools that are built into that. But it's a lot easier if you can actually have it in your hands. And for those of you folks at home, if you're not sure what it looks like, so you get the right app, on the top of your screen right here, you're going to see something that looks quite like that. So it'll have an app, and you've got to stop button, play piano accompaniment, and there's a lot of other tools that we'll go through as we go through this presentation. A little bit about how I found out about this application before we dive in. At another NATS event in Miami in January, I had the privilege of meeting Darren Adams, who created this tool, and I had been aware of it from a couple of years prior as an accompaniment tool to use when folks were on a pretty heavy lockdown. Since then, there's been some significant upgrades to it, and today we're going to talk about how to use those and what they really mean in the science of what we're going through. Now that you've got the app downloaded, take a moment and search through the library on there and see if there's any vocal repertoire that you would like to sing. And this goes for everybody in this room in particular. So we don't just hear tenor repertoire for me today, but we're going to try to demonstrate things that are applicable to you. But folks in the room, stand on up. We're going to sing together. We're going to warm up, and we're going to do an example at the piano and an example on the app. So let's go. La, la, Wow, we've got a whole choir in this room, so thank you, folks. Have a seat there. Now, you're probably saying, why are you using a piano? Because aren't we talking about an application? Well, some of us can't play piano. We all learned that in music school or learning, and we just need a little bit more practice. So one of the first tools and aspects of this that we can all benefit from is that it has free warm-ups in there. This may sound familiar. Let's try it on ya. Ya, ya, ya. Goes on by itself. Ya, ya, ya. You can do it again. Let's go down. One more time down. Now, we're at a NATS workshop, so we've got singers that are used to warming up. A lot of our students are not. And we can all say that we can teach warm-ups and folks can film their lessons with us. And sometimes they forget how they even prepared for those lessons for the first 10 to 15 minutes of the voice lesson. So one of the best aspects of this app is all of the free stuff that you find in the main menu, and hopefully you've all downloaded this. Under playlists, you see top 50 vocal exercises, all vocal exercises, and sample songs, all of which you can manipulate. What we were looking at were in the top 50 vocal exercises. We did exercise number 2, and you can go through these, or your students can go through them at any pitch level they like. So the next one we're going to do is vocal exercise number 4. Just listen to this for a second. Simple arpeggio, right? But as a lot of us are dealing with pollen and life and lack of coffee, sometimes that pitch level doesn't feel really good. So right up here in the upper left-hand corner, you see that treble clef? That means we're in C major. So hopefully your students know the key signatures too, but if not, they'll learn it real fast in this app. I can decide, I'd rather just do that in B flat, switch to here, and it breaks me down. We just do that on pop, pop, pop. some of you may say, it's really great to have my pianists or my students have a piano that they can warm up with, but sometimes as singing teachers, we want that piano to get out of the way so they don't sing like a piano, right? Well, you have the option to remove it. So this square in the upper right corner that has 4 quarter notes with pi over it, if I take that away, all we hear is the accompaniment. And such and so forth. So you have the ability to show them with the guide of their part being played what kind of exercise you're giving them, and you can offer them the independence to take it away altogether or fade back and forth. So only the vocal line, only the accompaniment, and everything there between. So I think I might be the only tenor in the room. I can take it down an octave if I want, and I can just make it only my line. Take it all the way away. And I can adjust this on the fly, not just with the exercises, but in the songs. And we're going to go through some of the activities with songs so we understand how this works. But I do want to stress that this is not a replacement for an accompanist. So as we get further into this, we're going to talk about some pros to this. And one of the things that we can say as singing teachers or collaborative pianists, there's a social, a human aspect that we're not trying to replace. We're trying to help students get closer to deeper work, to know a habit of collaborating through using the application. So when they do meet with a live pianist, they have the skills more honed to develop that and at times lead in that partnership. But I think we feel really warmed up, so let's move forward. What do the people in this room think that this app does other than snazzy warm-ups where I can take the voice apart away?
Change keys.
You can change keys, yeah, and we can go down too. We didn't just have to go up.
Change tempo.
We can change tempo. We didn't do too much of that, but we can speed it up. We can slow it down. You may have noticed the giant fermato button in the middle of it too. Singers like rubato. And if you would like endless rubato, you can just hold that down and let go of it when you're done being endless. So we're going to go through those different aspects of it as we go, but it does much more than that. So take a moment with your neighbor in this room or at home and just think of 2 things that we didn't mention that you wish this app did, and we're going to find out if it does. I hear.
We are all in agreement what we want.
Oh, well, okay. Sorry, internet. These people have decided what they want. What would that be?
We want to be able to manipulate the tempo within a piece and save it for future use.
Sure. Well, good news. It does that. And we're going to get there and show you how to do that. So not only do you have preloaded songs, but you can record your version of it as you manipulate it in whichever key you like and come back to it. You can also create cuts and reorder the song if you really need to. Lots of fun stuff. We're not going to start with that, though. Before we get into manipulating more of the app, I wish people would just understand what this does and how the software works. I work in a STEM school where a lot of the humanities faculty and music faculty are very concerned about something like ChatGPT or things being automated. In this case, it's putting the automation tools into your hands. And this is nothing new for you folks that have had recording technology experience. And we're going to go through an example of what it looks like on the back end before we start manipulating it and singing Puccini. Okay. One of the things that we're going to talk about is how to edit these aspects of live accompaniment. So dynamics, tempo, transposition, the Jackman listed there. You can also aid the vocal line or give a starting pitch at any point in the song. So if you get lost and you say, I have no idea where my pitch is, you can pause it, hit a button, and it'll say, here's the pitch where we're at right now, and get you back online. One of the things that live accompaniment can do is that, but you can't always depend on someone playing your full melody line in the middle of your song. One of the things that we can do here, in addition to that, is blend that accompaniment in the vocal line. You can record a live video with the accompaniment and yourself in it. For those of you folks that teach remote lessons, it will count you in, which would be super handy for Nat's videos. I think we can all agree on that. And those cuts and loops that we were talking about, it can do as well. And we're going to talk about why this is a helpful tool, even though it's an assist to accompanists. So there are a lot of students in the state that I teach in North Carolina that don't have access. They have a phone and they've got a laptop that kind of works, but they don't have any extra money to meet with a coach, let alone having an opportunity to work with a voice teacher more than once a month. So to get us through those times, I have found this to be super helpful. I teach at a STEM school where I'm also the choir director. So when we have 62 students in vocal repertoire, there is no way I can learn all that rep. And this gives me assists on that too. It gives them control over what selections they're going to use. When I say teacher-student lesson interaction on here, how many of you folks are capable pianists in this room? Could kind of get through? Yep. And that's not everybody, but no matter how capable you are at the piano, you're at the piano and your student's over there. So it's kind of handy for me where I can just run this through a Bluetooth speaker, have the accompaniment go, help them correct posture, monitor breathing without having my hands on a keyboard. And that's what I think is one of the biggest aspects of this helping me. And finally, once students get comfortable with the repertoire and they feel prepared, they can make active decisions with this application for how they want to express. They can decide why they think that tempo should be set that way. They can decide why they think it should be in that key, and they can manipulate it and save it. So they have ownership and they're empowered through this application. Again, that's something they can learn to communicate to live collaborative partners, but it's a big step that I know all of us can see missing at times. But before we get to that, we have a guest here. And if you folks were able to see Dr. Kafka-Price's presentation for Polish lyric diction on Monday, that's great. If you didn't, like me, because I was in a class, you can still watch it. And that link is also in our drive. We're not going to watch the video right now, but as someone of Polish heritage, I'm very excited to hear you sing the song. And we're going to demonstrate how the back end of the software works through this song. And as Dr. Kafka-Price comes up here, I want to reiterate that this piece is not in Appcompanist yet, but I will go over how you can submit repertoire to be added to that library. And this has already been submitted. And I'll provide you all that information as we go. And this is a link if you want to go to that YouTube video on your own, but can you tell us a little bit about this song while I pull up the audio?
Absolutely. This is a song by Mieczysław Karłowicz, who was a transitional figure that preceded Karol Szymanowski, who moved Polish music from its 19th century milieu into the sound of more contemporary music. He belonged to a Young Poland group, and that was a movement in art, literature, music for contemporary kind of sound and writing and visual arts. So this song, Pamiętam ciche, jasne, złote dnie. I remember beautiful, quiet, golden days. The singer, it's sung from the male's perspective, actually. And the singer is reminiscing and longing for his childhood days that were so quiet and beautiful, and golden and just lovely. So you'll hear it's steeped in 19th century romanticism. And Karłowicz was a young man. Unfortunately, he died when he was 33. He was an avid mountain climber and skier and had an accident. And he didn't really consider these songs. He sort of cut his teeth on finding his musical voice on these songs and sort of dismissed them as maybe nothing too serious for him.
We're going to go a little old school on how we manipulate this to show you what's on the back end of the phone. This is sort of a live workshop presentation. So when Dr. Kafka-Price says, let's edit that tempo a little bit, we're going to stop and show it and then do it in the application so you can see how much easier it is to do this sort of thing.
Pamiętam ciche, jasne, złote dnie, co mi się dzisiaj cudnym zdają snem, bo był otwarty raj także i mnie, bo był otwarty w dzieciństwie my. I czasem myślę, żem ja tylko spał, że całe życie moje było snem. Zbudzę się rajtem, odnajdę, com miał w dzieciństwie.
Did it feel like you had a collaborative partner?
Well, not really,
Sure.
because it just, there wasn't any room to put any rubato in there
Sure.
or anything.
So let's do that. Let's
Like
put in a
that.
bottle then.
Okay, that
Can
sounds
you,
good.
can you let me know a bar number where you might like that to be? And you folks will see on the screen how I'm doing it, and then we're gonna show you how much easier it is to do it.
Well, maybe we could look at measure 10.
Mhm.
That seems like a good logical place to put a little bit of rubato in.
And back odd tempo by one.
Maybe like toward the first half of the measure, we could just slow it down a little bit so that we have a nice transition into the B section.
Okay. This. And it was easy bit, and you let me know, is this enough?
Maybe a tad more.
Add more, okay? And keep track of the steps that we're taking to do this, folks.
And can you keep the rubato going through the measure?
Yep. And now I'm just timing this as we go, so this is taking me about 40 seconds to
This
do
is
this,
incredible.
right?
You're doing it with your,
I'm
you're doing
doing
that
it,
on your laptop.
but I'm trying to say that that's a long time compared to what we're gonna have to do on the app, so. Better?
Uh-huh.
Can you sing that for us
Sure.
from the beginning?
From where? From,
Right as you come in, I'll give you,
oh, okay.
I'll pick you in.
Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Right on the measure.
No, I'll give you back.
Pamiętam ciche, jasne, złote dnie, co mi się dzisiaj cudnym zdają snem. Bo był otwarty raj także i mnie, bo był otwarty w dzieciństwie my. I czasem, you know, the whole thing feels a little rushed. Do you think we could slow
whole
it down
song?
a little bit? Yeah,
Sure,
maybe a little slower tempo.
sure, let's slow down right from where we ended, and we're gonna put in one more of these two.
In fact, I even had to change the tempo at the, or change my notes at the end because it was so quick.
Sure, and in this relationship, you're the one that's having to change until we manipulate it, right?
Right.
So it's not a true collaborative partner here. Let's see if this is a little bit better, jumping in right at 10, and we'll meet you after.
I czasem myślę, żem ja tylko spał, że całe życie moje było snem. You know, that would be another great spot to put a little rubato in. Measure 14, the second on the beats 3 and 4,
Yeah.
we could pull it back to transition into the end there.
I feel like we're all singers because we're like, yeah, one more. Let's start you measure 13.
Oh, sorry.
That's good.
All right. Życie moje było snem. Oh, that's great. I love that.
So, but it's taking us a little while to put it in there, right?
A
Now,
rehearse it almost.
and I'm thinking, because I'm a tenor, so I want to hear the A. So would you like more time on it or you want less time on it?
Well, I love being up there, so.
Yeah, so let's do
Yeah,
that. So
It's a good, easy note.
which measure would you like me to start the retard on?
For the last note,
Toward the last phrase, yeah.
I would say probably B4 of the measure right before, so right before the A, so that would be
So
measure 18.
before, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then odd tempo whenever you're done, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and then I'm gonna let you hear it once and then you're gonna sing it and then we're gonna tweak as we go.
So where are
this
you
is-
starting?
This is the middle of, this is measure 18.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And
I'll take a big breath.
it's a very, very generous performance. Okay,
Okay.
let's give it a shot, let's give it a shot. I'm
Okay,
gonna
so where are you gonna start?
I'll start it playing in 16 and then meet us after 17.
Okay. Som
Yeah, you stunned the robot. That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And you can see this sort of conversation is what I mean, we're being a little egregious about it because we're trying to show the differences, but this is a conversation that would be legitimate between you and the pianist, right?
Absolutely.
And we only manipulated tempo. We can also manipulate dynamics.
I was
and
going to ask,
articulation.
can you do that? Because there's some lovely opportunities in the score to do that.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, and we can change the key on it too. So we're gonna do that with our next example that everybody's got at home.
Okay.
But again, folks, in the Google Drive that I'll share at the end, it has the link to your video presentation. It's great. It explains my last name. It felt very, very personal. I loved it. Thank you. So please, can we give Dr. Kafka Price a
Do you have to feed in the accompaniment like on a MIDI keyboard or something, or can it be a pre-recorded accompaniment that you can feed in?
Sure. That's a huge point of emphasis, what makes this app different.
Uh-huh.
So I played on a MIDI keyboard, the recording that that was me on the piano, and then.
Sounded great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And the recordings on here are MIDI as well. What's better about those than a recording like an MP3 or an MP4 is we can change the pitch, we can change the tempo, and we can do it in real time. We can make it sound like a marimba if we want. So there's a lot more flexibility to manipulate it. On a regular audio track, you can do that with certain limitations, but we can change 11 semitones on these two.
Okay.
So we're going to do that quite a bit.
Okay.
And yours will be in there shortly. So as
Okay,
soon as
that
it's,
sounds
I'll let you know.
wonderful. Great. Thank you, Dr. Tsiga.
Oh, thank you. Now, we're going to be going into automation. So what you saw us doing there was talking about the tempo speed, and you can change dynamics through a song. And I think we're going to go to an old chestnut that a lot of you folks might have heard, on the musique. Maybe heard it before. You folks want to sing in the room? Want to do it with the pianist once? Great. Let's try this together. Have a stand. If you don't have it in your Google Drive, go for it. But if you're not able to bring up a score, I put about a half of it in there for you to see how much we remember.
Can you pull up that QR one?
Yeah, I can. This is one of the beauties of using an app too. I can sit at the piano. There we go. See what we got. So I can already tell in this room that you folks wanted to pull a little bit differently than the way I was, right? And if I was an avid pianist, I could have followed you, but I chose not to. I also forgot what key we were in, but we're going to take a look at Andi Musique on the app and see what we can edit as we go. So if you have this at home too, this should be one that would actually not be in the free stuff, but you get an idea of what we're going to be going through. And it starts in D major. Everybody feel good about that key in here? Okay. Didn't feel good about the D? Do you need a higher or lower?
Lower.
Okay, let's see. That's right. You know, as a singer first and a second, C major feels great. So I'm going to start in D and we're going to bring it down to C. Let's see how that feels. So here's your C major. Oh, now, and I love it because you're my romantic singer people, and you said, she got rubato, where's mine, right? Well, fortunately, I got a little extra for you. But we're gonna all agree on what the rubato's like, so we're in C major, and we're gonna add a metronome.
Sounds too slow.
You wanna go faster? Great, I'll speed it up. And this is the piano solo. I'm just holding the fermata button so we can discuss what happened without having to go all the way to the beginning. Some people wanted it faster, then people wanted to slow down. We're all over the place. So just do me a favor in the room. If you want to go faster, lift your hand up and I will adjust. But I'm out of fermata, so when I let go of this, we're back in Schubert land. Ready? Sure. And we have all learned different interpretations of the song. I think we agree, right? We've all learned different interpretations, but fortunately, we can go through and do different recordings of it. So looking at the application we have right here, we're going to stay in Schubert for a moment. And I think I'm feeling D major, so.
Oh, shit.
I know, sorry. I get to make one decision of it. Now, if we come over here and we see, we can start ourselves off if the piece actually had a beginning that included the singer right away here. So we could actually count in, which is that little clock button at the top. But I think you folks would want to actually record this, right? You want to get your interpretation of it? So have a volunteer who would like to show us their interpretation that we can record. I have the score for you. You don't have to be off book. It's just Schubert. Serena, sounds great. Come on down.
Lord have mercy. Okay. I'm doing Serena.
Now they know really she works.
Great.
That's right here for me.
Forgive me. Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
And as you sing, can you show us what you want and I will follow you? Okay. All right. Thank you. Give a round of applause. And what we're noticing here, this is something that I have learned from this application, even though I can usually play what I'm going to be going through. But a lot of us have ingrained ways that we sing songs. And this is a way for the teacher to be taught a little bit too, because I know in Tenderland, we always like to hang out on our F sharps. And so even if we want a faster tempo, we're going to be pulling it back a little bit at that moment. But it's a good way to sort of check yourself and see what your habits are as well. In this case, we didn't record it because you need to go through it a couple times and decide what you're doing. But notice that I left out the vocal part. So it's a lot easier to coordinate with the singer when you take out their line. One of the things that we can find in those musical theater anthology recordings is there's a real heavy vocal line in them that's hard to subtract. And then the singers are obligated to kind of match up to that. Here you get more flexibility when we take it away and when you're super brave singing in front of an audience. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, there's a big video that I could show you folks, but on this website, and I think it almost does a better job than anybody could explain before, he shows you all the different things that you can do through this, but I'm going to explain them before you see this video. So I think most people have realized that the APA and APB over here is the melody line. So depending on what kind of voice type you like, you can switch it around. And I have weirdly found that when I have young men in high school singing, it's so beneficial for them to put in APA to take it out of the range that they're singing in. They tune better, they hear it better, and it separates usually from the accompaniment. But you have the flexibility to go either way in this application. And if I'm the one manipulating it, where you didn't have that choice on it, it's really, really enlightening to see how people listen differently. It's not a live pianist, but you have to be responsive in a different way when you're still not completely in control. So this is a two-person relationship, even though it's a robot and one of us, right? But let's take a quick view at this, and then we're going to jump to another rep piece.
The edit features are incredibly helpful in both the teaching and practice environment, helping you do things like navigate quickly to any point in a piece, create smooth musical cuts within recordings, and even vamp or extend repeated measures as many times as you need in a loop. Using edit features all starts with placing markers anywhere in a piece. You don't need to be tech savvy to do this, just musical. You can tap markers into a piece in real time as it plays, so you have them exactly where you need them. To set markers, first tap the Edit Features icon toward the top right of the player screen, and you'll see the edit features appear just below the title of the piece. If the recording is stopped, you will see from left to right the icons for clear, loop, cut, and place marker. If the piece is playing, you will only see the place marker icon.
So this is important. When you were looking at the app as we were going through it, what you didn't see was this top row of features. And this is what I usually find from people who say, I don't like this app. It doesn't do what I need it to do. It's because you didn't hit the edit button. So this little square that has the pencil, when you don't highlight it, you lose that top moment here. So we can cut and edit as we go through, and then we can download our fixed version of the song with the tempo settings we like. So you can customize it that way. And again, his video shows you this very clearly, but if you're ever using this app and you don't see all the tools, everything is basically through that edit button. Makes your life a lot easier. And then we're gonna go to just one other aspect that he listed here. This is about creating those loops and cuts. Why would we want to do a loop or something like that in a voice lesson? Why would we want to?
We're gonna repeat that section maybe a few times.
Yeah, and we hope that they do when they practice too, right? So if you highlight a loop on a problematic passage with the student, not only can they remember exactly what they're supposed to be going through, as it loops, they can bring the tempo down, they can take the voice part out and work in context, the same way that we all massage through the most difficult portions of pieces. It kind of sets them up for success on that. And as we listen to just a minute or two more of this, the voice on this is Darren, the gentleman who created this app. And I will give you the email, it's just info@appcompanist.com. He is literally the person that checks that email. So next week at Southeast Region Nats, I'm singing a recital of Chabrier, just me and my phone. And there were songs that I wanted to add to the library that he didn't have because they're my dissertation topics and nobody cares about these songs yet. But he said, why don't you send me the PDFs and we'll get the copyright clearances and do it. And 3 weeks later, boom, they were in the library. So if you are somebody that is thinking, okay, I like editing music that exists, Schubert's really fun, but I have some living composers, some underrepresented composers, women composers. If you have the music and you can send it to him, he can reach out to them to get copyright clearances and then get it recorded MIDI and set up into the application. So the whole idea that we talk about with diversity and equity and like including different voices, it's really incumbent on us as NATS members to offer those songs and connect those resources to these folks, and they will add it into the library.
This is any time during play or while stopped, you can tap this icon to add a marker to a piece. When you do, you will see a small line appear above the song position slider. This is your marker. You can set as many markers as you need and use them to easily navigate to any point in the piece. Once you have set your markers, you will see additional navigation arrows appear to the right and left of the play triangle below. Use these arrows to easily jump from marker to marker. From any marker, when stopped, you can use the pitch check and fermata start option to enter perfect sync with the piano, even on a pickup.
You know, that's the pitch that I have, and then you can start becoming it. That makes sense?
You can also set a countdown timer to help with cold starts.
And those are the examples that I wanted to show you really quickly before diving into it to record our next one. For those of you folks who are actually in the Google Drive, take a moment and look at the repertoire choices we have. Everything included in there is public domain. And we have a couple pieces, a Burley, Deep River, we have O Mio Bambino. This looks like the room for that. And, and some of the other options that make sense, but that's one where we're really gonna love talking about the fermata button. Is there anybody in this room familiar with any of that rep who would be interested in singing it with the phone? So you're not at my victim for tempo or fermatas. Nobody wants to sing O Mio?
Whatever.
Yes, come on down. Let's do this.
All day, but who cares, right?
There you go.
Yes, and thank you for being brave on it. As I tell my singers, and I know we're talking about vocal health in a lot of the online videos too. There's two kinds of singers: people that sing when they're not feeling their best, and then people who don't sing. So sometimes it happens, and we don't judge you. We're happy you're here, and I will dial it up here on my phone for you, so you can control it. You want to come on down?
Ooh, just to show.
Yeah, so I can run it if you'd like, but what I'd like.
What am I doing?
You know what you need?
I mean, ish.
Yeah,
Sure.
figure
Taught it a million
Great.
times.
So here,
It's
I'll
not-
pull the
it's
score
not
for
my
you.
rep,
For
but
you
okay.
to play it, and you can adjust here. We're gonna see what you do as you go through this, and I'll pull up a score for you.
Okay.
And as I get that text set up for her, consider that one of the reasons I noticed this is after recording the musicals and setting up options for students to learn remotely, you start to notice the intricacies of tempo, drag, and things like that more than we do in the studio. And I think it's a real advantage with the software to be able to do that.
Oh, that's so much bigger than my phone. That's great.
All right, and this is yours. You want to do it in G? Or A flat? Let's see.
A flat. No, A flat. The original key. He's fired. I'm sorry.
Well, I've experienced that before. Now people say that pianist didn't do what I wanted. There's a button right here. You could make this pianist at this instance.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
the slappy accompanist band?
No.
Oh,
You just
okay.
adjust the tempo, right? You just speed up the tempo. So
Job one, make me look good.
just do this. I will take your signal. I will take your signal. You tell me to
Okay,
slow down.
okay.
And you're gonna see it on the screen here.
Oh mio bambino caro.
Yep. Right, now hold on. Now, the tricky part is you can't run it ahead, right? I can catch up to you, but I'll do my best to catch up. Try it again, and I'll cue you for it. This shows you what we're used to doing in this piece, which is precise as notated, right? You do it.
Oh, mio bambino caro, mi piace bello quando mi porta rossa a camperar sì, sì, ci voglio andare e se amasse a perguntarmi Okay, I'm gonna cheat here.
Beautiful, beautiful. It is a collaboration, right?
Sure.
And there were times where got to catch up to you, got to slow down, and it's just that ebb and flow that is really difficult to teach students, right? We can't just spend the whole day playing this, right?
Right.
We've got to talk about it, and we need to trust them to take some leadership on it. Right now, you were trusting me. Dangerous. But thank you for being willing to just lead on that. And yep, and if you ever have a day where you're not feeling so good, or if you're a tenor and you're like, I don't want to sit on A flat all day, you can just take this down a half step, and then you can hang out on the notes even longer. So what's really nice about the options for this software is you can not only choose to do things where you can stay in a fixed time, but if you notice on this example, there's no metronome. Why?
That's probably about.
Yeah, there's just so much rubato that it would be ridiculous, right? And one of the things that if you've got instrumental students or vocal students collaborating in the same sort of studio, you're gonna notice a lot of different personalities for how singing or how tempo is supposed to be observed. And for me, this was super enlightening for teaching rubato to folks that felt as long as they could control it and they didn't tap their foot, it was a lot clearer for them. In that same drive, we have two other pieces. Is anybody interested in singing one of those? We've got Deep River, Caro Mio Ben, nobody knows it, right? Oh, yeah, we only have about 10 minutes left. I'm gonna go to Keep Watching Over Israel. This is a choral piece. And for those of you folks who have the free app, it's in the sample songs. And this is more of an idea of what you would see in how I had utilized this for musicals. At times you need to fade something out and you need to create a guide track just for the tenors, right? Or just for the altos, but having all four parts would be problematic. In this case, we can hear all the parts. Start with our sopranos. Right? Tenors. Still have the sopranos and the tenors, but if I'm like, it doesn't help me to hear that soprano part, I can just take them away. Sorry, I left the altos on the dark there, so you can add things in and fade them out. And I know a lot of NATS members are also choral directors, and this is super handy because I'm one of those NATS members. We get a lot of rehearsal tracks or things that are used for state conferences and things of that nature, where there's a specific voice type that's singing it. And as we know with the different categories that we have here too, you need a lot of students to be able to trust what the real sound is. And it helps me a great deal to give that a neutral timbre, like a piano, and to fade it out, not just saying, here's your tenor by itself recording, and now here's everything but the tenor, good luck. You have variety. You can fade it in and fade it out and take them in stages. So pedagogically, it makes a lot of sense for them to progress to become independent of the parts. This also helps in a great deal because if we're looking at a piece like this Mendelssohn, it's not exactly slow, right? You can't pull those vocal tracks back on the choral tracks that I've used before. This flexibility in the automation is amazing. So they can learn it and make sure that they're getting the rhythms correct without having to feel rushed as they go through. And all of Messiah's in here, so you've got about 9 months to get them ready. So yeah, so please dive into that. I remember when I proposed this, I talked with the committee about needing a full hour to do this, and you can basically do this for 3 hours, showing different examples and different styles. But I hope each of you that has an opportunity to just download the free version has an opportunity to go and play with it. Look at one of the repertoire things and see if it works for you. If not, so be it. But if it does, the first step that I would recommend to all of you folks is send information to Darren so that he knows what we need to add to this library, because we looked at Schubert, we looked at Puccini, we looked at Polish art song, right? So we've got something out there, but these are all sort of in the same vein. There's a ton of musical theater in here. There's a ton of spirituals, but there's other things that could be added that people are thirsty for. And I think the way that it will serve us best is not only by teaching students how to use it in different ways that are helpful for them, but also in serving the repertoire that they need to learn and they need to know about to be better humans. And as a high school teacher, I find that kind of important, and sometimes being left out a little bit. That email to reach Darren is right there. And I know it seems ridiculous to just say info@Appcompanist, and I did not believe him until I sent all the Chabrier files, and there they were in the app. So it takes a little bit of a turnaround. And the reason I'm stopping here for a moment is because this is not a sheet music database like you would have a Sheet Music Plus or IMSLP. The copyrights have to get cleared for the audio, but that's not the same as a scrolling video or something like that. So if there is a lag in adding something to this, it's probably a negotiation on copyright. I know that he said they're adding contemporary commercial music in as they go. Those copyrights are tricky. So it takes a little bit of negotiations and some time to put them in there, but I know it's definitely on his wavelength.
And did you send him the score you wanted, or did he? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of mine were not published, so I have the manuscripts and I've done that. But if you've got something or a composer who would like to have their information at their repertoire added, that's the best point of contact because you can talk to them. There's a limited amount of time in the day for everyone to do work, so I can't say it'll all be out there by April, but it's something that can be super handy, at least to have an access point to get that done. And these are the things that are available for the different levels of it. For what we're doing here, there's 850 vocal exercises, 11 complete accompaniments, so there's musical theater songs in there, there's art songs or opera arias. Those are just the free ones, and you can search the library to see what's usable to you, to make a decision as to how much more I need to have. You have a question?
No.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, it's right. And you can receive and play unlimited choral parts. So that's what you get with the free version. And this is to those choir directors again. The full choral one is like $300 a year, but you can send the parts to your students without them being charged. So it's pretty amazing, and they can manipulate them. These are the breakdowns. The top 3 are for iOS. So if you're an Apple user, the complete costs $5 more than the Android. I don't know why. Should have asked them that question. But it's functional on each of those platforms. And if you're someone that teaches principally musical theater and pop, like me, then you could probably get by with the regular one. But if you need all the classical repertoire and the musical theater, in my estimation, it's totally worth it. And just as a refresher, if you have that 15-minute gap between lessons, I go, how does the Sondheim song sound again? I can check it. And then this is my favorite aspect of it. For Nats students who are auditioning, they're gonna need 3 pieces basically, right? Or if they're doing 2 categories, 6. So for a month, it'd be $3.99 for them to have full access to whatever 6 songs they choose. They can't just like swap them in and swap them out. It happens monthly, but that still should be enough time for that. This is what my students are doing right now.
I've had a number of students do that as well. even just, and I'd say you can use it for the time that you're prepping.
Yeah.
And then if you wanna go without for a time, it's very flexible.
And I spoke to people before this in the presentation, but my wife's in tech sales, so I've seen the like, we gotta make gobs and gobs of money aspect of the assistive technology and things like that. I can tell you from meeting Darren as a high school teacher, that the reason he made those vocal exercises just free is because he wants to help people get access to maybe eventually step up to one of these subscriptions, but just to be able to sing. And the fact that all this happened during the middle of the pandemic means that you can see where the heart is, right? So I highly recommend it. And if you want to go full choral, that's the expensive one. But I've already started using it and it's worth more than that. And this includes all the solo rep and the choral collections. I'm trying to stay in this timeline, but if you have any questions, feel free to text me, email me, whatever. I'm rebuilding the website, so I'm not gonna put that up there right now, but thank you folks for making time to be here. Thank you, Dr. Price and Dr. Bernadine. Thank you. And this slide deck that's in there has all the links and videos, but their website is amazing.